As per a latest WHO report, 1 out of every 3 adults have reported anxiety disorders and depression due to COVID-19. And 56% of them are young adults between the age of 18 to 24. Literally every country across the globe has been impacted because of this pandemic. Global economists have said and estimated that there is a loss of 4.5% of the GDP, which results to 3.94 trillion US dollars in lost economic output. Wow. This pandemic, as a result of its isolation and the economic uncertainty, has taken a toll on all of us. We have experienced as a community varied natures of adversity across the globe. It could be an earthquake, it could be a flood, it could be a tsunami, it could be an economic global slowdown, or it could be something more personal, like a loss of a loved one, a loss of a relationship, a loss of 1 year of study, a loss of finance, a job loss, a health issue, or anything. We have had adversities across. What's the most beautiful thing that I very recently came across was that there's a silver lining behind every adversity. And I wondered, is it? In a recent article, Dr. Paul Stoles said that there's a beautiful correlation between adversity and creativity. And it got me really interested. Now, when I saw that there is a beautiful correlation between adversity and creativity, I went ahead to research a little more. And this is what I found. As Dr. Paul says, with every hardships comes a creativity. It doesn't matter what the adverse life experience is all about, whether it's physical, it's psychological, or a circumstance. There is creativity. Let's take the example of the World War II. All clever inventions, right from penicillin to computers, and from notable music releases and great works of art happened post-war. Now, this is something very astonishing that the psychologists got so interested in knowing a little more about what this is all about. And they came up to this conclusion that with every hardship, an individual is able to create a beautiful solution for the adversity that he or she is facing, while making connections and also understanding others. Typically, we will all say that when there are constraints across us, it limits our creativity. But it has an opposing effect. When people are exposed to situations where there are no constraints, they usually tend to, what psychologists say, take the path of least resistance. And constraints actually help them to relook and revisit and develop new ideas as to why and what, how they could go ahead, resolving and also coming out with new ideas to kind of work on their problems. In these days and these months of isolation and quarantine, I'm sure many of us would have got access to find a lot of our newfound skills. And most of our newfound skills are actually, what you say, undeniably creative. Did you ever think that we could work from home for months together with no in-person meetings and no travels? I mean, the things that we thought is the most critical and important, we did, and we were super productive too. Did we ever think that the cleaning industry is going to be one of the most booming industries across? The booming industry is so booming that it's estimated to grow at 5.38% of compounded annual growth rate in the next 5 years. Did we know that the platform that we are using, the virtual platform that we all are using right now, the Zoom, has been one of the biggest beneficiaries of this pandemic. And why not? It actually, the stock of Zoom jumped up fivefold in the last year. And why not? We all do a housey in Zoom. We host birthday parties. We have prayer meetings and we have worships happening in the Zoom. And we are hosting the TED as well in Zoom. Isn't that something that we would have ever imagined? And we're here. Did we ever think that a student and a school would teach a student the entire year syllabus online? We wouldn't believe that, isn't it, a few months back? But we did that. The online industry, the online education industry in India has estimated a growth of 44% compounded annual growth rate in the year of 2021. We indeed have moved forward 10 times ahead of time in embracing the technology. The kind of entrepreneurial startups that have started in this pandemic is amazing. Of course, there are businesses that stop, but the creativity that's come out of joining and forming new startups, which we have not heard about. The one I just recently heard about was something called as a Puja Sansar. And I did not know that something like this exists as well. Because of the pandemic, many a time people are not able to go and visit their places of worship. So there's this app formed, an online platform formed, where a brother and sister duo, they kind of send across the entire worship material to the homes of people, along with the way the rituals are to be carried out. Isn't that amazing? So we kind of see so many examples of what's happened in the adverse time that we have faced the most recent. And you know what? One of the biggest complaints that I get from people across, oh my God, I don't have what it takes to be creative. So let me tell you, creativity is not something exclusive for Einstein or a Thomas Edison. It's available for all of us. Are we attuned to it? Are we knowing how do we get there? It's just a matter of consistent fostering. Even if we lay on the grass and look up into the sky, just by seeing the shape or seeing the form of shape of the clouds is in itself a creative thing. Creativity is not a Herculean event. It's just a matter of consistent fostering. There is this fascinating study that I very recently came across. And this was a study for students. And the students were grouped according to the adversity quotient scores that they demonstrated. Now, this was the adversity quotient scores that Dr. Paul has talked about. And what's this adversity quotient score all about? It's a score that measures the person's ability to deal with his or her adversity. Right. So what's the correlation between adversity and creativity? And this is what comes out. It says that as we went across with the test, it was amazing to know that students who displayed high adversity quotient scores had a high creativity skills. The one with medium AQ demonstrated medium creativity skills, and the one with lower AQ demonstrated lower creativity skills, which in itself says a lot. And the factors that was considered to see why is it so different was a factor called as novelty. The novelty factor was to say and demonstrate how each of the student would come across with a new, different, totally different way of resolving a problem. Not just seeing a usual way of solving the problem, but an absolutely different way of solving the problem. And this was amazingly captured in this test, and which comes across saying that adversity is something that leads to amazing creativities. First and foremost, we need to augment our adversity quotient. I'm sure we all know Frida Kahlo. She's a renowned 20th century artist. She went through a polio attack at the age of 6, a near fatal accident at 18. She had a traumatic spontaneous abortion at 25 and witnessed a troubled marriage throughout her life. In the deepest of pain and sufferings, she found the inspiration, and artistic expressions are a way to get your negative emotions and anxieties into a positive ones and make you feel good. Isn't it amazing to know that when we create something, we feel really beautiful about it? We feel so happy about it. We feel all the cells in our body jumping with glee. Yes, I created something. And that's the reason, first and foremost, it's very important to augment your adversity quotient. And that's your first aha moment, the A from the aha. Steve Jobs once quoted, "Creativity is just about connecting things." When you ask a creative person about how did he do it, he feels guilty because he does not know how he really did it. He just saw it. Eureka, 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 I found it, I found it. This is exactly what Archimedes said when he was screaming in glee and running out of the bathtub when he found the solution to a very difficult issue that was haunting him since long. It's so important to know that every event in our life happens twice. Once in the workshop of our brain, and the second time in real. What we conceive, we achieve. What we imagine, we can achieve. But are we ready to spark that imagination? What is that that will trigger the creative imagination? Where is the seed that flows in our body of creativity? Yes, it's the thoughts. And thoughts are exactly what's needed to start getting creative. You may be stuck into several spaces, but doing it the same thing again and again, you do not get an answer. You need to unplug, dissociate, and see it from a new perspective. And probably you get a different perspective. And that's where exactly you would go ahead and say, harness your imagination. Every thought is the focus point. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, and the results show. Everyone who has talked about amazing creative solutions have already thought about it in his mind, in his thoughts first. A building, before it comes up, it has a blueprint in the thoughts of the architect, and then it's constructed into a beautiful masterpiece. So it's in the thoughts that's very important. And that's when we say, if you're able to harness your imagination, you are able to demonstrate greater creativity skills. And that comes with the edge of your aha moment, harness your imagination. As I traveled through my journey from the corporate leader to being an entrepreneur, it wasn't an easy one. I did suffer a lot of personal and professional setbacks, physical, economic, financial, a lot of things which I really faced through. And every time I would have to start back all over again, right from the scratch. Wasn't easy. However, I realized one very beautiful thing. And that beautiful thing that I realized that with every adversity that I faced, I got stronger, and I got stronger to also become more capable and give myself a pat on the back and say that you have come out with solutions and creative solutions which can be hacks for a lifetime. So every time there's an adversity, you come out more stronger. Every time there's a scar on you, you come out more better. And every scar reminds it how strong you are. And as I moved on in my journey, I met several women who were struggling with similar setbacks in both their professional as well as their personal space. And it is this time around, I thought that I could be of some help. And that's how my signature offering of Leaders in Lipstick was born. It's a coaching and a mentoring program for the women to enhance and to, unleash their best versions. So the adversity actually leads to creating something really spectacular. And if you have a purpose which is greater than yourself, it indeed breeds creativity. Take our own Padman, Arunachalam Muruganathan, a social entrepreneur who went ahead to create low low-cost sanitary pads, and in the bargain helped thousands and lakhs of women across the country towards menstrual hygiene and a healthy life. Right? It's so important to have that purpose because the purpose stimulates the creativity. So when each one of us works with a purpose, we all end up creating something really spectacular. So purpose breeds in creativity. So the next important thing is that how do you go ahead, sorry, that how do you go ahead and create this space for yourself? And this is what I have to say, the aha moment. How do you acknowledge the purpose of the power of your purpose? Similarly, I would like to say to each one of you as young adults of this generation that we will all come across multiple setbacks. And each setback is actually a setup for an amazing and creative comeback. And we all are going to be a part of this creative comeback. So I urge and request each one of you to put on your aha caps and say that I'm going to be creating something spectacular. I know how do I cope up with the challenges of this world, get creative solutions and make this world a better place to live. And I would do that by developing my creativity skills and using the aha. The aha, when I say augment your adversity quotient, harness your imagination, and acknowledge the power of your purpose. So with that, I'll leave you all reflecting, thinking about what's more critical and essential for you. And creativity lies within the thoughts, and adversity is the catalyst for creativity. Thank you so much.